I'm from Brooklyn, like every single person that comes up from the city here. I'm enamored with your town, Beacon, right? You walk down the street, you're just overwhelmed with the number of like craft breweries. Are there like a dozen artisanal donut shops in Beacon? And every single one of these places, I'm like, wow, the owner of this shop is like, that's what they're known for. And their friends are like, oh my God, my John's father does financial planning. Like everybo's got their thing. And like, I'm struck, like my thing is I don't take Ubers. That's it. That's the only thing. And I'm pretty sure that I'm the only one who knows that's my thing. I don't think anyone else cares. I've got the app on my phone because I think it's very puritanical, American to always be resisting temptation. But I was in a different town, not my own, at one of these fringe festivals, staying at someone's house, and it was past midnight. I was a bit inebriated, and nobody was around. Nobody was looking at me, and I thought, what is better than resisting temptation than giving in to temptation? And so I ordered an Uber. And for the rest of the world, this is not a remarkable event. So I don't go back to the first time you ordered an Uber. Not been in other people's Ubers, but this was me alone. And I can't believe it's gonna work, but it does. A car pulls up. It's a very regular car. It's just the driver's car. And I get in the backseat feeling very awkward because, of course, every car I've gotten into in my entire life that looks like a regular car, it's been a friend's car, I've gotten in the front seat, so I feel weird and elitist getting into the back seat. I always make conversation with friends because they are friends, and so I feel obligated to relate with my driver as if we are friends, even though I do not want to talk. I want to ride in silence, but I feel I must ask after this exchange of our names. I'm like, so are you, how's your night going? And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, please don't give me a long answer. And he says, good. And then I'm amazed, incensed, if you will, because he does not ask me that question back. And we just continue riding in silence, which, as I said, is exactly what I want, but I don't understand what planet he was raised on, where if someone asks you how your night was, you ask that person. That's just common human decency and courtesy, and there's nothing, there's just silence as we're going, and I couldn't be happier for it, and at the same time, absolutely disturbed, and so I feel compelled to give him another opportunity to show his humanity. And the thing is that I noticed in a very brief conversation there was an accent, and so I asked him, I'm like, where are you from? And I don't care, I don't want to know, but I've traveled some, and I want to impress him if I've been to the country he's from, and maybe it will establish some rapport between the two of us. And he says, Connecticut, and I know better. I know it's somehow offended. You can't ask someone, no, where are you from? I couldn't. So we just continue in silence. And again, I cannot believe he is not asking me where I am from. And we're riding with what I imagine and feel is incredible tension in the car that at the same time I'm sure he is not feeling whatsoever. And we come to a stop sign. It's a suburban neighborhood. And the weather outside is remarkable for the fact that there is no weather outside. Like if it was a little bit colder, you'd say it was chilly. A little bit warmer, you might say it's warm. It's nothing. It's absolutely no temperature whatsoever. There's no precipitation. There's not precipitation either. It seems to be just sort of, there's nothing hanging in the air. There's no wind outside. There's not a leaf moving at all. There are no other cars at this intersection. There's nobody around. It feels to me, and I don't really believe that life is a simulation, okay? But it very much feels as if we've come to the end of the programming. That whoever's writing reality has run out of code, they've gone to bed, and now I'm just buffering. I'm just in this cab buffering, a sense that is accentuated by the fact that we're sitting at this stop sign for so long that I must also consider that my driver has in fact fallen asleep. And I feel like of those two options, I would prefer that this be a simulation, you know, that like, because at least that's something I can like accept and deal with and be like, well, I just have to wait out here until somebody writes some further code for reality and we will move forward further, because the second option is that my driver is on a lot of drugs right now, or he has been driving his Uber for so many hours that he's no longer able to stay awake. A lot of people drive Ubers, I understand, in order to pay the rent, but it's occurring to me that perhaps he has no rent, that he lives in this car, that driving is in fact all he does, and he catches naps just very quickly at stop signs, and still, we are just sitting there, which I'm sure you're like, yeah, that's weird. No, you don't know how weird it is, and aware that like I have to say something, and I don't know if you are in the habit of waking people up who are in the middle of driving you, but it's unclear how to do so. And so I ruminate on it. I have the time, and so finally I say what maybe we would all land on. I say, hello? And I try to make it sound like casual, you know, as if it's like totally appropriate to just give a salutation anywhere in the middle of hanging out with a person, not just at the beginning. And if I had any question about whether he was asleep, it was confirmed by his response, which was immediate. He just said, I was just thinking about something, and then we just continued driving. With no explanation of what he might have been thinking about. And we are in silence again, and I'm thinking like, well, I really don't want to be in this Uber anymore, because I'm tense now. I have to watch the road for the both of us, because he might just fall asleep and veer off again. This is an unsafe situation. I'm wondering, like, other adults, you're all adults in this room, right? I would assume you would all have no problem asking him to stop and just walking the last mile. And I'm wondering what is wrong with my maturity that I feel unable to do so. I feel it's awkward, and I'm wrestling with that sense of self when we come to another stop sign, and I kid you not, it happens again. We just stay there, and it's not like his head just suddenly like, you know, bows down. It doesn't move. I'm just looking at the back of his head, and I'm trying to inch around to see if I can see the side of an eye, whether it's closed or not, and I definitely don't want to wake him up a second time, because that's just gonna be terribly awkward for him, and as such awkward for me. And again, I was wondering, why can't I just leave? And so I just sort of inch my hand over to the handle and just to try it out, and I click the door open, and the light comes on, no sound, no dinging, and he doesn't move at all, you know? And I sort of open that door, and then little by little, I'm shifting my weight towards the edge of the door, just sort of sneaking out. And it's very weird to be sneaking out of a transaction in which you've done absolutely nothing wrong. I don't know, why do I feel like I am doing something untoward with this man, but I get one foot out onto the pavement. It's very dangerous. And then I get my other foot out, and then one quick movement, I stand up out of the car, and then I take the door, and very carefully, I click it closed quietly, and then I just walk away. Decades of my life getting out of cars, I have never completed that transaction without a single word. It is very unsettling to leave someone's car and not say anything to them and have them say nothing to you, and then I have to walk forward because it's in the direction that I am staying, into his headlights. And I want to run, but that feels weird to be running away from his car, which is now just behind me, stopped at the stop sign, engine running. And I know, as strange as this has been for me, it certainly is nothing compared to how it will be for him whenever it is that he wakes up. Because he may not even know that he's fallen asleep. And for him, it will seem, I was in the back seat, we got to a stop sign, he blinked, and I was gone. And he will have to confront the reality that he just gave an Uber ride to a wizard. And he will go forward the rest of his life with all of his Uber buddies swapping their Uber stories. And he'll be like, well, none of you have ever given an Uber ride to a wizard. And he will tell them, this wizard also had the power of teleportation, which of course will beg the question, why was he taking an Uber at all? So I'm walking forward towards my place, and I'm happy for him to continue in life with this story, and I want it to be ruined, but I am aware at some point that there are a pair of headlights behind me some blocks away. I don't know if it's his car. I've lost track. Maybe a new car has turned on the road. I don't know at all, but there's a car now approaching me from behind, and I do not want it to be him. I do not want to have a scene in the middle of the suburban neighborhood where he slows down and out his window is trying to get me to come back into the car and me telling me, no, leave me alone. And so you know what I do? I hide in the bushes of somebody's front yard. I am over 50 years old. It is very, very weird to be hiding in someone's bushes as a 50-year-old man, and knowing that if the owner of this house sees me and calls the police, and if the police come and find me, I will have to lie to them about what I'm doing here, because it will be more believable than telling them my Uber driver was sleepy. I would like to say, after that car went by, that was the only time I hid. It was not. I hid 2 times, 2 different people's bushes, 2 different front yards in a town I don't live in, thinking, why has any of this happened? I eventually made it back to where I was staying, my heart racing, sweat drenched, feeling like I've just had a wild adventure, but at least feeling better about the one thing I would like to be known for in the world. Now you all know it for me as well, is that I do not take Ubers for good reason. Thanks a lot for listening.
Martin Dockery, everyone.